Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie Manville, and I run the 1 Million Diamonds art Instagram. Today, I'm speaking with Scott Troxel. Hi, Scott.
Hi, how are you today?
Very good. Today, we're going to talk about Scott's process and a little bit of his background, and also about how he's become a successful artist over the past few years, the different things that he's done. So, let me ask you a little bit about your art background.
hmm yeah, so I kind of took a little bit of a circuitous route to get where I am today. Um, I started out as a film student. Actually, I started out as an art student in college, and then I transferred and became a film student.
Okay.
And I graduated from Temple with a film degree. And I really kind of thought that's what I wanted to do, but um, I actually ended up getting working in the furniture industry for a little while, and then I started getting into like product development and marketing and graphic design and art direction and things like that. So, um, you know, I guess I kind of went away from like fine art a little bit during my 20s and 30s. I was creating stuff though. I was creating work. I was creating products for retail, making samples and coming up with new products and things like that. And that was definitely filled kind of a void in me, I guess, the creator part of it, where I was able to make things. And it was definitely interesting. I mean, it was one of the favorite things that I've done outside of art is, product development. But I guess when I was about 40 or early 40s or so, I started like kind of like getting back into my artwork and started painting again, doing kind of like large abstract paintings. And then just kind of by chance, my neighbor has a wood shop next to me, um, and literally it's like right next to my driveway. So he's a contractor, so he'd come back from jobs and leave like scraps and piles of wood
Hmm.
laying on the driveway that he was going to throw away. Um, so I started like poaching from the pile, and he's like, you can take whatever you want there. So I just kind of like, and I hadn't done anything with like wood or wood shop or anything since high school. Like I had a high school class, like industrial arts, like everybody I think
Like
mentioned.
everyone, yeah.
Yeah. So I just started like, like laying wood together and like coming up with like two-dimensional or three-dimensional like pieces. And for me, it was just like so much more exciting to me than painting on canvas.
Okay.
Um, and not that I don't enjoy painting on canvas, because I really do. But I think it's a kind of a different process. Um, but and from there it just started taking off. Like I just started making things, and people seemed to be legitimately interested in what I was making.
Hmm.
Um, and like I started out, I'm in the local fine arts league, and
Nice.
I was just, they have like monthly contests that are theme based, and they have these contests, and I come with these like crazy wall sculptures, and people would respond to them because like literally almost everything else in the contest was a painting of some sort, a pastel or a painting, acrylic oil, whatever. But like it just, it kind of, to me, the feedback was really good because I was, working on something. People were very encouraging, and they were like, that's really cool, kind of what you're doing. It's different. Um, so, and then I mean, that was probably like maybe 5 or 6 years ago or
Hmm.
so. And then I just, kind of like I was painting for a while, and I was doing wall sculpture, kind of like one foot in both. Like I didn't
Hmm.
really want to commit. Like, so I was, I'd still do paintings and sell paintings. And then, I'd work on the wall sculptures, but like eventually it kind of just took over, like the wall sculpture aspect. I kind of committed to it and stopped painting. I mean, stopped painting, I should say, on canvas. Um, and then, kind of just went from there. Like I started getting more interest in what I was doing with wall sculpture, and, started selling more of that. And I kind of just, kind of kept going on that route. And that's kind of where I am today.
I see you have a whole bunch behind you. I was wondering if you had any on the website that you'd like to show us.
Yeah. So like, yeah, there's a couple like I'm working on. This weekend, I was working on this big flat guy down there.
Nice.
Um, that's like a monochromatic piece. It's, it's birch panels that I kind of like. I make my own whitewash, and
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much ready to go. I wanted to do a real big one. That's like 48 by 48.
It's pretty
Uh,
big from what
yeah.
I can see. Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to do like a big one. That's one of two. There's another one that's coming behind it. That's going to
Okay.
be a different color combination. But like, that one right now is ready, pretty much ready to go, and it's going to get lacquered now.
Okay.
And what I do is I have a fabricator that works with me, and like in the past, what I would do is I would wax these, like hand wax them
Okay.
with like furniture wax, and it would give it this really kind of cool surface, but it wasn't super durable.
Mm-hmm.
So what I started doing is playing around with different like clear coats, and the lacquer is great because like a lot of people think lacquer has to be really shiny and like there's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a negative stigma with it, but like lacquer can be matte or satin, and it almost does what epoxy does with that buildup, but like not as shiny as epoxy or not quite as like heavy as epoxy.
Mm-hmm.
So like when this gets lacquered, and sorry if you can hear my dogs going crazy right now.
That's
The
okay.
mailman's probably here.
Yeah.
um, Actually, not the mailman's here, and now somebody's cutting the grass outside. So um,
This is
everything's going
every
on.
Zoom meeting I have usually. So
Yeah, right. It was perfect. It was quiet all day long. But
yeah.
anyway, my point about the lacquer is it gives like with the materials that I use, like wood grain and like even washes, like in the whites, you can kind of see like the wash, the wood grain through the wash.
Okay.
But when you put the lacquer on it, it gives it this really like deep, like I don't know, like finish to it where like it really brings out the wood grain and it just brings out all the interesting parts to it so it doesn't look flat, like
Then,
it has a lot of depth to it. So yeah, but to give you an idea of like what one of those looks like, and I think I have to share my screen, right?
yes.
Okay.
I know when I met you, what was that? Untitled Art Fair?
uh the other art fair, yes.
Other art fair, yes. When I met you at the other art fair, I know I was really impressed by the sheen and
Hmm.
just how very clean your pieces looked.
Yeah, yeah. So like this piece now on the screen, can you see the screen okay?
I can, yes.
Okay. Like this is a monochromatic piece. It's similar to, I mean, this one's really small. This one's probably only like 18 by 18. But
Okay.
like this one has lacquer on it. So like the pieces, it really brings out the depth in like some of these like areas here where it's kind of not white and not the wood color.
Yeah, you
Uh,
can see the wood through it. It's cool.
yeah. And obviously on the screen it's hard to tell, but like in when you're looking at it in person, there's a really like nice depth to the finish. Um, but yeah, and in terms of like the finishes that I use, obviously not everything's monochrome. Like here's another piece that is like a matte metallic automotive enamel.
The
So
Tonkas.
yes,
I
the
like the new
Tonkas.
Tonkas. They're cool.
There's three of them, and um, like on a piece like this, I had done metallics before, but usually with metallics, you have like a semi or a satin gloss over top of them, and it gives it that really kind of, you know, glossy pop. But
Right.
these are actually matte metallic, which is really cool because like they almost like absorb the light. Like the light doesn't like come bouncing off of it. So it has this really unique appearance. And this is actually like a car at some point in history was sprayed with this color.
It's
So
so
like
beautiful. I love it.
yeah, so like if you can go and say I want like 1977 Trans Am gold, and like you can literally buy that color. So it's kind of cool, and to use like some really higher end expensive paints like that. They're not cheap, but they're definitely, I think, when you're looking for a certain look or feel to the piece, like it's definitely worth it to go with some paints like this. And then like in a similar fashion, like a piece like this.
Ooh, I love it.
Um, this is actually interesting because what I've been doing recently is getting back to kind of the lacquer is like normally I would paint something and then I would have it sprayed
Okay.
with clear lacquer.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of figured out, working with my fabricator, we figured out that, you know, we could kind of shave off some of the time in these steps and also make a better product. Because like, if you think about painting, there's two steps. There's a painting and then a clear coat. And
Uh-huh.
both of them have to be absolutely perfect if you're doing flat surfaces like this, because, you know, if you get one hair or one, you know, dust or anything in it, when you have a flat surface like this, like say this, you know, mauvey pink color,
It would really show up.
yeah,
Yeah.
it ruins it. Like it ruins the whole aesthetic of the piece. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what we've been doing is spraying pigmented lacquer, which is like you actually get the lacquer, like you would go
Pigmented.
and, yeah, embedded in it is the color. So it's like when you go and pick out a paint to paint your walls, you pick a color and they mix it up.
Okay.
So it's spraying the lacquer and the paint together, and it dries super fast. Like I want to say it probably dries in like 4 minutes.
Do you have a
Um,
special place you get that from, or?
yeah, well, like the pigmented lacquer, we usually actually get it at Sherwin-Williams.
Nice.
They have like an industrial kind of. Most people go in and get house paint, but most of the Sherwin-Williams locations have like an industrial desk, so you can
Mm-hmm.
go in and you can get these lacquers and you know, things like that. But it really, it elevates the look of the piece, because again, it's hard to see on a screen, but like, you know, even my workmanship from the other art fair where we met, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, has gotten probably, I would say, 100% better than that.
Okay.
Um, you
And that
know,
was really impressive. So
yeah, thank you.
no problem.
You know, so you know, it's just it really too, it depends on the type of piece that I'm doing, because like some of them, you know, I'm super like picky about, and like a piece like this, it, you know, everything really has to be perfect.
Okay.
And
I
then
love
I
the
did,
composition on this too. It's great.
thank you.
Show me some
And
other ones. I want to see some others.
sure, like let's see here, oh, okay.
There you go.
Like this is
Wow.
another, this is actually a really large piece. It doesn't look that big, but I want to say it was like almost 7 feet by 7 feet.
That's how they look on walls. I did an 8-foot piece like that when I was a kid, and let me tell you, you can't see it, but man, it's huge.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this probably weighed 250 pounds. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and it's on. It was just, this is a new restaurant in Philadelphia called the Hadley, uh,
Cool.
and it's just, you know, like this piece was so big, it was funny. I rented a U-Haul, a box truck, to take it up there,
Okay.
and it fit in the U-Haul by like 1 inch.
Wow.
Like, because we had to lay it down, but like even to get it in the door of, and it was a big box truck. It was like the 20-foot box truck or something. It
Wow.
almost, because it was so wide and like so big that it literally almost didn't fit in, which would have been
Holy.
fine. So,
You would have
but
been doing some sanding.
yeah. So, um, but yeah, I mean, to show you some other pieces, like I think this one was actually at the other art fair when we met.
I feel like I've seen this before or I've reposted it.
Yeah, it's right there. See.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so like this piece is, you know, this one I painted, and I used to do it the old way where we would spray it with lacquer after the paint. But like, you know, it still is a really nice product. It's just, you know, trying to always continually like up my finishing and game, because really like working with wood and like materials like that, the hardest thing really is you know, the finishing. Um, you know, trying to get the finish consistent and everything, because it's like that, you know, you could make this piece 100 times and like,
Every time it will come out different.
yeah, like, you know, sometimes they just fight you, And,
Yeah,
so try, and
I knew that
it
feeling.
just, yeah, so, but
Let me ask you, where do you get your wood from, if I'm allowed to? I know there was a pretty
yeah,
cool wood place down in South Jersey when I was going to school down there.
yeah, I mean,
Exotic
depending on,
Woods.
depending on what, like what the kind of direction I'm going with the piece is. I source it from different places.
Okay.
Uh, I'll go to, sometimes I'll go to like a lumber mill. There's one down here in South Jersey that's kind of like an old school lumber mill. You can go and get raw wood, and sometimes I order it in from like North Carolina, or actually even Lancaster, from um, out in like Amish country. You can get
Nice.
wood out there. Um, so it always fluctuates because like the price of wood is like seafood, I guess. Like you never
Market
know what.
price.
Yeah, it always fluctuates. Like depending on the availability of it and the demand and everything. Like sometimes it's a lot more and sometimes it's cheaper. So, um, but I also use reclaim stuff too. Like this piece actually that's on the screen now is like this cherry here was from a tabletop.
Okay.
Um, so what I do sometimes is I like look through Craigslist and I'll find somebody selling like an old Queen Anne table from the 50s,
Nice.
and I'll like I know if they're a certain age that they're solid wood, because I don't think it was probably like maybe the 60s or 70s they started veneering stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, you like if you can find tables that are like out of style, like Queen Anne furniture, nobody's buying. So you can buy like a solid wood cherry table for like $50, and it has $300 worth of solid cherry in it. So
Yeah.
when I first started out, I was a little bit more like hesitant to like, you know, just invest in my inventory.
Okay.
So I would always be looking for like, how can I repurpose something, buy wood cheap, and then, you know, now, I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to like, kind of invest in the inventory and understand that it's going to take, say a piece, it cost me $500 to make, I can make that and put it into my inventory without having to worry about it too much.
Hmm.
But, when I first started out, that's a lot of money to put out for a piece that you hope might sell sometime.
Well,
So,
sales are popping from what you tell me. You're like you're really doing very well. And
yeah,
we had a giant conversation last week about it. He was telling me a little bit about not just selling at galleries, but the other ways he's selling right now.
yeah, yeah. So, I think for me, having kind of like looking and seeing how my career is going, I haven't really just relied on the kind of the gallery model to sell my work,
Hmm.
um, because wall sculpture is difficult. Like it's not like going in, like when people go in and they buy a painting, they kind of know what they're getting, right? They
Yeah.
know they can hang it. They know, most paintings don't require special cleats or something to hang it. People are comfortable with that, you know.
Yeah.
And when you get like, if you have like a, like this piece here, it's, a 4 foot by 4 foot wall sculpture that's probably going to be 80 pounds. Like, sometimes people, they're not exactly sure what they're getting, or how they're going to hang it, or, so um, I realize that there's like the galleries that sell my work now do a good job of like educating people on wall sculpture and like why you might want a wall sculpture versus a painting or something.
Hmm.
Um, to add some dimension to your wall, or if you already have some paintings in a room, how it might, um, just kind of be something, different and dynamic in the room. But, um, you know, the, I realized that selling like, 10 or 12 or 15 pieces a year at a gallery, which normally takes 50% of the price of the sale, was going to be really difficult to kind of sustain my art practice without having another job. It's kind of the artist dilemma. It's like, okay, I want to work on my art full time, but if you can't, if you're having trouble paying the bills, it's stressful. And, I know personally speaking that when I'm stressed out, I don't make good art. So when I started making wall sculptures and posting things online, like I post on Pinterest, I'm very active on Instagram. I started getting calls from or emails from art advisory firms.
Nice.
And what art advisory firms is, they're like basically they start where the interior designers stop. So like once an interior designer's done, they call in like the art advisors and say, okay, we need to fill this space with original art.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's prints, sometimes like art advisors they're all different levels. So, they might only have, $1,000 for a budget. So they're putting a lot of prints or whatnot in there. And then it goes all the way up to like, if you see a huge, iron or steel sculpture outside of an office building, they had a pretty big budget to, put $100,000 sculpture out front. So, and they're kind of all in between it. So I guess because I was doing wall sculpture, and there's less people doing wall sculpture than say, painting on canvas. I just started getting like inquiries about my work, and can you make, you know, can you make this piece? Like I'll show you, like this piece here. I made this in like maybe 3 or 4 different sizes. One of them I made huge.
Huh?
I want to say it was like almost 10 feet wide.
Wow.
It was massive. It was one of the biggest pieces I've ever shipped.
Wow.
But like, they look at a piece like this and they're like, okay, this would be great in a hotel lobby, or it might be, great in, in a lobby of a office building or a skyscraper or something. So I've been able to kind of get a lot of work because, they're able to get a 2-dimensional piece into a space in, that, they might only have been able to put paintings in before. So,
Hmm.
um, so yeah, I've been working with a bunch, like there's a lot of art advisor firms in the United States and abroad. Like I actually shipped something to London to go into the Shard building, which is like right
Wow.
next to the London Tower. It looks like a shard of glass. Um, like an
Awesome.
art advisor contacted me, saw my work on Pinterest, and asked if I would do a piece for that building.
Okay.
Um, so what's great about art advisor projects is it's very similar to like the gallery. They'll contact you and say, I want a piece. What do you have in stock? And if you don't have something in stock, it usually ends up being a commission. But generally the pricing's pretty good. The pricing's fair for artists.
Okay.
Um, and, depending on the art advisor that you're working with, the projects can be great. And not only that, but they can be, really exciting. Like a lot of art advisors will come to you and say, this is how the lobby looks, and they'll give you a sketch of it or like a mock-up, and they'll say, what are your ideas for a piece in this spot, in this
Okay.
lobby or in this space. So it's kind of neat. And it's also neat kind of knowing that the piece, instead of maybe going into a residential home that might get seen by
By
100 people
people.
a year,
Yeah.
a piece you could put into a public space and, thousands and thousands of people can see it. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. But to kind of answer your question, yeah, a lot of my business is coming from like the art advisory side. And, I think I was kind of at the right place at the right time in that, for wall sculpture, it just kind of like a lot of the art advisor firms, when they're doing hospitality and corporate and hotel type jobs, like
Hmm.
they're usually looking for something that's not, like a lot of time, abstract art and or non-objective art, where it's like something that's kind of, might maybe timeless, that it's not going to look dated in
In
5 or 10
5 minutes.
years.
Yeah.
um so they really, I think, kind of follow some of these guidelines when they're trying to place something that, obviously if they're looking for something that's not confrontational or not, going to upset anybody.
Not controversial, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, generally, if there's people that are kind of looking for other ways to increase their business, I would highly recommend like trying to reach out to, art advisory firms, and they're almost in every city. I mean, there's, tons of them in each city, and they're always looking for new artists to work with because, their clientele. I mean, each time they come back with their client, to their clientele or do a different project, they will, are working, sometimes it's mid-century modern stuff. Sometimes it's, Art Deco. Sometimes it's, something that might look like street art.
Okay.
So it's great because they're not always looking for the same type of art. They're looking for art to go with a specific environment that, has been created by an interior designer.
And fits with it, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, I think we have a few more minutes. Show me a few more of your pieces since we have the website up.
Sure. Let's look here.
Let me interject too. I usually ask everyone like, what is your, do you have anything you're working on right now or any future projects?
Yeah, actually, right now I'm working on, like I kind of use this time. I'm actually a little bit slower than I was this time last year.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of that's because like a lot of the hospitality and art advisory work that I've been doing has been kind of not put on hold, but like there's just a little bit of feet dragging going on right now because, people aren't really staying in hotels and, it seems like everybody's being very cautious.
Yeah.
Same with kind of like the galleries, people haven't really been allowed to go in galleries and, so they've been shopping online. But so I'm using this time where I'm a little bit slower than I was last year to try to make a lot of inventory, and just do some things that I've been planning on trying to make that I haven't.
Okay.
So like for instance, this piece here, like I just have like, sorry, my computer's like this. They're two birds.
Okay.
Like I sketched this up like couple years ago and it was just sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to make this now, things that are fun. But let's see what else we got here.
Now's the time to be more
Yeah.
experimental.
And kind of,
Ooh.
yeah, like I wanted to touch on this too real quick. Just kind of in terms of my process too, like I just have like, if you open all these I mean, I just have windows upon windows where this is kind of like my whiteboard. So like
I'm blown away because everything I'm seeing looks gorgeous.
yeah, like this is actually the piece that's behind me. That's how it started out. And then it was gridded out to trace it to the thing. But like, I mean, I just kind of like, I just have sheets and sheets of stuff where,
I love it.
like, like these are glossy resin. These are like big round resin discs. And
Oh my God.
like, I just like, this was the piece behind me that I was like looking
That one
at.
on the floor.
Yeah, like an alternative colorway. Like this is the colorway that I ended up doing, but like, just like because the materials that I use are expensive and I just like, I'm not the type of artist that can just like wing it because I'm not really good on the fly.
Don't feel bad, neither do I. No.
Well, I don't, my decision making is not great.
My wing it paintings are all either in the trash or been painted over, so.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So, I like to like kind of mess around with things and kind of get an idea with like Photoshop. Like I'm an illustrator every day in Photoshop, like hours. And, I really try to get a really good idea of where it's going. Like even the form like this one here, I mean, this, like the gray piece, that was what I traced onto the birch before I cut it.
Okay.
So like, this one I probably had 15 different versions of this before I decided on this specific like composition.
Okay.
So, and then, of course I want to like look at coloring before,
You actually do
I
the
go
color, yeah.
paint on it because, yeah, really get a rough idea what it's
Mhm.
going to be like. And then, so,
Let me ask you, do you print it out real size? Like, do you blow it up and
um,
then sketch it out, or
the, not with these, usually I don't,
okay,
because like I'll just grid them and then kind of wing that.
wing it? Okay.
But, like some of the other pieces, like, let's see, like some of the pieces that are more, um, like this piece, um, what this one actually gets done that way. Like, so for this one, a lot of it is spray work,
Hmm.
like pigmented lacquer. So what I'll do is like, I'll have like a full size sketch of it on blueprint paper and I'll get templates made. And then what I'll do is, that's what we'll use for production of it. So I don't have to measure like every single one of the angles. We just print it out full size and
Hmm.
then make templates and then cut from the templates.
Nice.
Yeah. Cause like
Wow.
otherwise, if I tried to just wing that, it would end up like the final thing would end up, way different.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math. Math is not my strong suit.
Don't feel bad. Neither am I.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a kind of a unique process in that, a lot of what I do is like 75% predetermined.
Hmm.
And that's why I enjoy painting now. Like I've kind of gone back to painting just as like a fun way to switch things up
Hmm.
because painting's so like spontaneous and like if you mess up, you just paint over it. And, you know, there's definitely like a completely different like creative process when it comes to painting, which is I enjoy now.
Okay.
Just because like doing some of this work is really rigid and
Super tedious.
things change on the fly. Like I'll change things, but it's not like you can't just wipe stuff clean, you know.
Hmm.
And I think that speed aspect of it with painting like is still what I find really enjoyable.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny. I find myself going back and forth between art forms every few years. I'll go from, photography back to painting, back to video,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just keep going with it. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because like I had a lot of people in the when I first started selling, uh, like Alex Farkas from U Gallery, the
mhm,
one of the owners of U Gallery. So I asked him. I said, he was actually one of the first online platforms to bring my work in, and it's
nice.
curated, so you have to apply. And it was a big moment for me because I was like, wow, somebody is interested in my work. Um, but he said, I said, do you think that I should do painting and sculpture? And he's like, well, your painting looks very, it reminds me of what you're doing with your sculpture. So, I would really encourage you to do both. So, it's interesting because I know a lot of times like galleries will say, you know, they want your work to be super specific and recognizable and, so that they can sell to collectors and, you can form that, portfolio of very like-minded work. But, um, for me, it's just like, I kind of, I don't know, like maybe it's a medium, but like if I'm making the same things over and over again or similar variations of the same thing, it gets boring to me.
I feel like you do a really good job of kind of changing your compositions up so that they're not the same. I mean, I know some artists that do literally the same work as they've been doing 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And honestly, I don't really know how they do it because it's horribly boring.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I feel like, after 20 years, wouldn't you have changed the way that you see things?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it, I would think so. I mean,
Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, I think like you would probably agree with me that, sometimes I look back at a couple of years ago and I'm like, look at some of the stuff I made and I'm like, that's just, I would never make that now. Likewise, I'd see things and I'm like, yeah, I still really like that. Um, and you know,
It
I
teaches
would,
you as you look back at your old stuff and you're like, what do I like and what do I not like?
yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I just like, I just try to, you know, come up with fresh ideas and kind of expand, you know, with those ideas. I might share a similar color palette or something like that, but generally, you know, I like to, I mean, part of the fun for me of art is like constantly trying to get to like this level that you never seem to reach. Like for me anyway, like I know I have better art to make, and I mean, I think that's the most frustrating thing about being an artist. Like I can see it, I just don't haven't really crafted the skill set to get there yet.
That's my next question was, I have that problem too where I have visions constantly. I
Mm.
mean, whether I'm doing meditation or just like I'll be somewhere and I'll be like, oh my God, get me a piece of paper. Um, do you have a problem getting that vision right when you're trying to execute it? Because I do. I can't ever seem to get the same vision out.
Yeah, I mean, I
Not
struggle
usually.
with that all the time. Like you know, I think that's the hard thing. Like I forget who said it, but somebody I read a quote recently, and it was something to the effect of, you know, like growing as an artist is you know, you're you can see what you want to do. You just don't have, you know, as you grow, you get closer to that ability to realize what you want to do or say
Hmm.
or create, you know, but that's where the, you know, it might take a lifetime to achieve, you know, a lifetime to get to where you want to be.
I kind of,
Um,
yeah.
um, or 20 years or 10 years or whatever. I mean, for me, it's just, I don't know. I just like, very few times I stand in front of what I've done and say, this is perfect. I wouldn't, you know, it's fully realized. And
Yeah.
but I think that's part of like what keeps me going. I mean, like, you know, I'm just like, well, I could make a better piece. I could, you know, introduce more materials, better paint, like better textures. Like one of the things I'm focused on for 2020 and 21 is like working with more textures. And you know, how can I introduce those and, you know, onto wood or, you know, wood type materials or styrofoam or, you know, foam board and things like that. So uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Like as artists, I think we, you know, we're always trying to strive for that perfection, but you know, I don't know how many of us actually get there, you know.
I think it's kind of interesting because I think about it to myself. We all have like this art language that we're trying to teach ourselves, but internally we know it.
Mm,
And so it's like you know it subconsciously, you just don't know it in the awakened life. And
yeah.
so with me, it's like the more I play with stuff, the
Mm,
closer I get to happy with my art than I do if I'm trying to like reimagine a vision. And
mm,
I've said that on Instagram before. It's like, I'll try to make something as I see it, and then like just playing with it kind of gets me there faster.
mm,
I don't know why.
yeah. Now, it like, um, if I can ask you a question,
Sure.
um, what do you find that like I know this happens it happens to me. Like I'll make a piece that I think is really good and I'll love
Hmm.
it, and then I'll post it on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, you know, I wonder how many likes or interaction this piece will get. And
Hmm.
like it just seems like the pieces that I don't like as much that I've done get way more social interaction than the pieces that I like.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It goes both ways. Sometimes, like, I'm on,
Mm,
like, I had that one with the orange and the four black dots, like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, this piece is the dopest. And
mm,
I was like, this is going to be great. And I just liked it. It was so easy to make and it came out really easily.
mm.
And then, and then sometimes like I'll put like some crap on like that. I'm like, should I put it? I don't know. I'll just put it anyway. We'll see if anyone likes it. And then like, 400 people, I'm like, how?
Yeah, it's funny how like, you know,
Even
it's
with diamonds, it happens on diamonds all the time. I'm like, do I post it? And then I post it and like 5 million people like it. Like I get like 400 likes in an hour. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's
Wow.
like, well, I mean, with your, and that's different too, because you're posting with Diamond, you're usually posting other people's art, and with yours, you're posting your own. And, you
It's
know,
been a very good research situation.
yeah,
I've learned about people's, it's I find that most people will like the things that they make. They like the same art language. So like if people paint stripes, they'll like the stripe paintings, or if it's graffiti, they'll like the graffiti, or if it's gradients, they like the gradients, or if it's triangles, they like the triangle stuff. And
yeah,
it's like almost exact. Like I get comments on it, like the typography people like the typography, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's fantastic!" And I'm like, yeah, it's the same language you speak,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it'd be cool if you could like look at the like breakdown by art interests on like your Diamonds account.
There's so many different dialects
Yeah.
within the non-objective art realm that it blows my mind. And, it's weird when I started it, it was kind of like, I just see something from it. I was like, I don't know, I'm just going to post it for fun. And then it like blew up overnight. I was like, whoa, what the heck?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of speaks to your curation, because it's hard to get that many people following you. I mean, if you think about how many, like, I mean, how many things you can follow out there, and how many different people are vying for your attention.
Look at my main account. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like closing on 3,000. I'm like, super excited,
Woo!
but no, but in all honesty, I mean, there's literally like thousands of like contemporary art, Instagram pages you could follow. And, if you're a good curator, and, you're presenting, art that people are responding to, I mean, that's why, you should be really proud of that account, in my
I
opinion.
am. I am, and thank you. It is my baby. Just everything is all semiotics and symbolism and just shapes, and that's it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is perfect because I don't want to see anything else anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Which is why I like your art.
Well, I was going to say, it's great that you found, a platform to share what you like, and obviously
Yeah.
people are responding to it because they like it too, and lots of them. So,
I see a lot of energy around your art right now, and I see a lot of it with like, with the commissions and like, the new pieces that you're doing and the different compositions that you're doing. I feel like there's an amazing energy in your art right now. And that's kind of why I wanted to do the interview with you. And then when we talked last week, I'm kind of glad we decided to redo the interview because
yeah.
I think like these things need to get through to people, especially artists that are starting out. Like you need to be able to hear from other people that are doing well
Hmm.
because
Yeah,
it's such a hard thing to be part of. I mean, it's like you don't ask to be an artist, but you're an artist. And they're like, well, why don't you be a doctor? You're like, because I'm an artist.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really, I mean, it's really, really. I'm not going to lie, it's tough. I mean,
Hmm.
it's tough. I mean, there's days where I'm like, man, I mean, I worked, I had a full-time 9 to 5 job, as an art director or marketing manager. I've done things like that, and it was easier. I mean, it was really a lot easier to make money doing that, because you knew what you were making every day. It
Yeah.
wasn't stress. I mean, but looking back now, I'm like, this is what I was supposed to do. And yeah, it's harder. It's a lot harder. It's more stressful. But I mean,
You're
like
living the
sometimes,
life though.
well, yeah, I mean, sometimes I pinch myself in the middle of the day, and I'm like looking at like 3 swatches of oranges right now, and this is my job. Like, like I'm picking out an orange, that I want to use. Like,
That's awesome.
I mean, that's cool. And
Yeah.
and I would not trade anything, go backwards. But what you touched on, I mean, there's so much negativity with people, and because a lot of it's true. It's hard to make a living, as an artist, and you have to define your practice, and you really have to build that niche. And you
Yeah.
know, and another thing too is you have to be proactive. Like, very few artists sit back and let people discover them. I mean, you have to go, you literally have to market
Hustle.
yourself all the time,
Yep.
you know. I mean, that's I still have like people, somebody contacted me last week and they're like, we're a art advisory firm and we like your stuff, we just found you on Pinterest, and I'm like, like they never saw my work before. And I'm like, part of me is like, well, how could you have not seen it before? Like I try to post it everywhere, but then I'm like, that's kind of, lame, thinking that, how dare you not see my work, but not in that, but like, if you're looking for wall sculpture at all, at some point you should run across it, you know?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's because I like, I'm constantly posting stuff and posting on Pinterest and, hashtagging and doing everything I'm trying, to do. Um, like I sent out an email newsletter to like 300 different like art advisors and interior designers like once a month, showing them work that I've
Wow.
done. And I mean, I built that list by hand. Like I didn't buy it somewhere. I just, researched it and built the list. And
That's an amazing idea too. Look at you. You're just like killing it. Like I'm talking to you for the rest of my life because you always come up with cool art ideas, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, if I don't know, do we have any more time?
We have a little bit more time. I think we're slowly running out. We decided to extend this to an hour because I was like,
Oh,
I kind of wanted a little bit more depth to this interview.
okay. Yeah. Well, another thing that I'm working on, it's kind of outside the box, but I'll show it to you.
Oh, no. What is that? Are you working on what is that?
So this is a 1983 sailplane
That's what I
glider.
thought it was. Okay.
Yeah. See how it looks like an egg with like,
Yeah.
um, there's another, this is like the schematic of it. Um,
Are you building it from scratch?
no, so what I did is like, I've been really wanting to do like a large sculpture. So I found this as a barn find. It was built in 1983.
That is
Yeah, it's
awesome. Can you
completely
fly
built.
it?
So it looks like this. And I'm not going to fly it because I'm not a pilot and I
I
would
want to
never
fly
go
it.
up. I would never go up and it's sketchy. But like somebody actually built this thing from scratch and it was airworthy at some time. It did fly.
That's
Um,
so cool.
but what I'm going to do is I'm actually taking it. I have it here. I purchased it and I'm going to make it into like a crazy like sculpture.
That
Um,
is so great. Oh
yeah,
my God.
it's big. The wingspan's like 45 feet wide, and it's probably 25 feet the other way. But like, I'm gonna take it. And my idea is to like imagine a cube,
Okay.
like in space, and I want to like compress the thing into a cube shape.
Okay.
So like the wings kind of bend up, like you know.
Are you gonna make it so that it can turn on like on a cylinder?
I don't know yet. I'm still trying to like come up with ideas for it, but like
Nice.
it's all aircraft aluminum and fiberglass. So
Wow. I
like
can't wait
literally,
to see what you make with this.
yeah, yeah. There's a guy that did a sculpture at the Philadelphia Academy of Fine Arts in Philly.
Okay.
It's like a DC-3 like cargo plane. It's on the campus and it's like it almost looks like a crap. It's like all in pieces and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking at that kind of for like inspiration. I want to do something a little bit different than he did, but that's really the only other like airplane sculpture that I did. And I don't remember the guy's name now, but I don't know. I just thought like it kind of goes along with the aesthetic that I like. It's 80s, but it looks kind of space age, and like I think,
Put got
I just
nice curves to it.
yeah, I just love the lines to it, like it just had really great lines. And
It kind of looks like
so
a good font.
yes. So now I'm like building little scale models of it, little fuselages, and little wings
That is great.
out of balsa. And what I'm going to do is like make a little model of it, and then we're going to start kind of cutting it up and like welding it, and kind of see where it goes. But like what I want eventually is to like be able to get it to like a reasonable size,
Okay.
um, whatever form that takes, and so that it would fit in like the lobby of the building. Um,
Wow.
and just be really interesting, like, because it was obviously a plane that flew at some point, but you know, to turn it into art, because it's not gonna, probably wouldn't fly again. It would probably need too much work, but it's in really good shape.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
I think it's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of my pet project, that I'm trying to doing, to up the ante a little bit.
That's nice. That's
Yeah.
great. Congratulations. That's awesome. I think it's going to be a great project. I can't wait to see it.
Mhm.
I guess I will depart with you right now.
Okay.
All right. I think this was an amazing interview, and I do appreciate your
Yeah.
added advice to it because I think it helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could probably do a whole nother, you know,
6 hours.
yeah, on just, I mean, I love helping, artists that are emerging, or artists that are just getting started, and because it's a tough road, and you get advice, some of it good, some of it bad, but like, it's always like, the last thing that we want is for artists not to be artists because they can't afford to, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just really sad. And unfortunately, as the world gets more expensive, it's harder and harder for artists to, you know, to justify going to a 4-year school, or getting an MFA and spending all that money to, struggle.
No, I hear you.
So, yeah,
Well, thank you so much today. I really super appreciate this interview.
thank you. It was great. Anytime you can have me back.
All right. We'll probably do this again. Thank you so much.
Okay.